All right, hey folks, we're going to do some game design. It's lunchtime. It's a Tuesday. Time for us to play with the Bastion campaign. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check my signal real quick to make sure our signal is coming through. I'm going to hit the social media posts real quick, and then we're going to work on research and trade orders today. So first comes in the media posts real quick. Holy Hannah, yeah, that mic's coming in loud and clear, my dudes. Cool. Let's go ahead and grab that up real quick. I've got the link here. I'm going to hit my social media posts real fast. And I guess we're going to start just rambling about stuff. So let's, while I press a whole bunch of buttons for social media to announce my presence, let's, pitter patter. My name's Phil Kearney. What's up? I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online. And I've been creating content on the DMsGuild since 2018. I've been a DM since 1987. And a freelance illustrator since 1999. So, well, hey, what's going on, Fernando? It's good to see you, my dude. So I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and then I publish them on the DMsGuild. I'm just about done with my social media posts. There we go. So let me go ahead and wrap this up and get to work with y'all. If you find today, well, hey, we have 600 subscribers. Thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. I'm proud to have you. Here's a bunch of books we've already created on the DMsGuild. They all have a 100% free preview. We might reference them at some point. Who knows? But you're welcome to check those out if you're a D&D 5e or 0.5 enthusiast, whatever. If you're a D&D 5 plus enthusiast, check out the stuff. If it adds value to your game, consider purchasing it so you get all the stuff that comes along with it in the zip folder to make it all work efficiently for you. And then also, here's the playtest document that I've been using to develop this here on stream. It's read-only. You can't just copy it and take it. But when it is on the DMsGuild, you are most welcome to look at the free preview. And if it earns value in your eyes, you could always support me on Patreon for the time being and pick up the book once it actually publishes. So nothing would make me happier. So thanks for those that do. But okay, great. So we have the document here, and I'm going to extract this here as a separate window. So I have the in-command system was what we were developing before the 2024 DMG created the Bastion system that we're now reprising to utilize. So instead of these industries were developed by Adam Hancock, who created Baldron's Guide to Kingdom Building, who was our editor for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book linked down below, which was using the vehicle mechanics that we developed for In Command of Guilds and Kingdoms. This whole system already works as a 5e sort of system, but it doesn't curve gracefully into what the Bastion campaign is. We had industries which defined different types of aspects of society that became ability checks, that if you hit the ability score if you hit the ability check that you needed, you would succeed at the thing you were supposed to do. After talking to Adam, he gave me blessing to move ahead with taking this idea and converting it into the Bastion campaign. So instead, we have the 7 orders that are common to Bastions: crafting, empowering, crafting equipment, empowering magic items, harvesting materials, maintaining lifestyle and well-being of the Bastion, and then there's recruiting NPCs and hirelings into your Bastion, and then there's research, discovering information through study or carousing, and trade, which is acquiring materials, equipment, and magical items, but not making them yourself, just finding them somewhere and buying them, basically. And then we also have warfare and sabotage folded into it. The Bastion campaign system that we've developed from the ideas that we have here in Command into what is now the Bastion campaign takes the ideas of settlements and structures them as a Bastion. And it takes armies that you can go attack other armies or settlements or fortresses and other bastions, also framed as a Bastion. So a Bastion is a structure or set of structures that your characters make use of as a home and utilities. A settlement is a location where multiple bastions can be placed together for mutual defense and can be framed as a bastion unto itself, like civil services and stuff, or like facilities in the bastion settlement. And then facilities in the settlement can also be additional bastions. So you can kind of Russian doll, like you can fold bastions into bastions into bastions. Like I could have a settlement that has a bastion, which is a franchise, which has other bastions, which has similar bastions in other settlements, and have unto themselves purchased settlements to grow the resources that they need for the franchises. Like Starbucks, for instance, as a bastion, has stores or like pubs located in settlements. The pub unto itself is a bastion. However, they also own warehouses and storehouses to hold their materials, and they develop trade lines to send those materials from their storage to the individual pubs. And they own settlements and properties where they keep all of these storehouses. They might even own plantations where coffee is created to fuel the food that is sold through the pubs. So you have pubs as bastions, you have storeholds and warehouses on properties, which are settlements specialized in housing storage facilities. You could also have a settlement that harvests coffee, and all of this gets routed through the trade center hub, which is like headquarters, where they're actually distributing the orders that you're issuing to the pubs in general, the settlement that's developed, that's storing and trading materials, and the settlements that are actually producing the coffee, the plant material used to craft coffee that is then part of the lifestyle that is maintained in the bastion of Starbucks. So that's basically how Starbucks works inside this bastion campaign framework. And you can frame any government, any community, any store, any pirate fleet, or just caravan in general, any roaming army, a fortress, a church, a religion, the blood war, the guilds of Ravnica, the 13 Dragon Mark houses in Eberron. These can all operate inside of the Bastion campaign framework that we're creating here. So for the past few sessions, we've been going over specific orders. You can either order, and you know what, this is actually a really good point to make, because we're going to want to talk about orders, I think, before we get into the facilities, so that you understand why we're talking about orders. But I think I have an additional, this is what we do. When we're going through, we're refining, we already built the document, but it's clunky, and it doesn't necessarily work 100%. And all these past, 13 episodes now have been us ironing out the details so that it's a sleek, fast, intuitive, easy-to-use system with less caveats and fiddly rules to prevent you from just intuitively making use of the system. So that's what we're tweaking our way through. So I'm going to go down to the orders. Facility properties include benefits, downtime activities, and issue. Hey, Steve, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Oversee issued orders, gain empowerment, grant inspiration, oversee issued orders, and then there's actually orders. Issuing orders, order properties. There are 7 basic orders. Order and so I'm going to go down to orders. Issue. I don't know how else to put it right now, but the idea here is like crafting requires. How about that? Requires. Requirement. Facilities. How about specific facilities? This also requires specific facilities. Harvesting requires settlement. I don't know how to put it right now, but the idea here is facilities. The maintain order is Bastion regardless of facilities. This isn't going to be the best way to word this, but this is just to help organize how this stuff is rolling out. Bastion and specific facilities. Research requires specific facilities. And trade, I'm thinking trade also requires specific facilities. So a lot of what you can do with a Bastion is going to require you to install facilities by expending Bastion points to purchase and install the different facilities. And as you gain rank in the Bastion, you can invest additional points into the facilities that are already present to advance their rank as well. And so some orders that you can issue, like you can't really research something. Let me make a caveat here. Each order has unique properties that determines what a facility can do when the order is issued and the DC of carrying out each order. Characters can generally craft, empower, research, and trade as downtime activities individually, or issue orders to special facilities to the Bastion, or specific facilities, or can work, or a character can oversee the orders issued to the facilities to combine the character. Characters can generally craft, empower, trade by making ability checks as downtime activities individually, issue orders to the Bastions, as skill challenges, or a character can oversee orders issued to the facilities to combine the character ability checks with the unique bonuses gained through the Bastion and facilities together. That's the gist of it. This isn't necessarily the right place to put it, but that's the idea that we're trying to put across. Hey, what's going on? Do you have a custom crafting system beside the Bastion? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Have the material that you need to make a thing. Make a DC check to see if you can make it. Depending on how expensive or rare it is going to determine how long it takes. And if it's a magic item, it's going to either require exotic formula. It might require exotic materials if you don't have an item that's already suitable for enchanting, and you need the magical plans, the plans to make the magic item, which the artificer gets for free. If you look at my martial powers document, under the artificer, it has the rules for artificers acquiring plans, and depending on what your subclass is, what reduced costs of time and materials are required for you to be able to make different items of different rarity. Otherwise, it works just like the system that's already built into here, that it's built into 5 ranks of common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary value, which is going to be anywhere from 100 gold up to 100 gold, 400 gold, 4,000 gold, 40,000 gold, 200,000 gold as listed in the DMG. And then those 5 ranks or 5 levels of rarity scale up using the bounded accuracy system of the D&D 5e game engine, which is the DC 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And although you don't necessarily need to incorporate complications into your game if you're not utilizing bastions, if you fail the die roll, my rule is that you don't fail at the task. Something went wrong that requires further engagement or some additional material or some other factor needs to be incorporated for you to succeed at whatever it is that you do. And once you do, you will succeed at the task. So the crafting, like for example, the team is the team in the mega dungeon have been killing phase spiders, and they know that if they can succeed at an uncommon harvest check, which is a DC 15, they can get injection poison from the phase spiders. That if they drop the target down to 0 hit points, they can have them be paralyzed for an hour. And they can just casually slit their throats if they don't need them alive. But if they want to capture somebody, they can use that paralysis to basically capture opponents that they don't necessarily want to kill. So they're harvesting the materials to get the poison that does 2d6 poison damage and at 0 hit points paralyzes the target instead of kills them. So as long as they can hit the DC 15 on harvesting, and they have a poison kit, they can harvest material and then use their crafting kit and the poison kit to well, if they have the poisoner feat, they can just automatically convert it into doses of poison. But if they don't, they would make a crafting check using alchemical tools or even cooking supplies if they have to, or medicine kit, depending on what they have. But if they actually have the proper tools, the poisoner kit, once they harvest material, they can automatically convert it into the poison that you want. So, but that's like while they're out in the field running around. If they're trying to do like large doses of poisons, then it would just fall into the Bastion system of how much does each dose of poison cost, what rank of facility do you have, add up the cost of the amount of poison that you make, and that's going to be the level of difficulty or rarity, 100, 400, 4,000, 40,000 gold worth of poison. The DC to succeed at making all of that shit and have this basically floating plus 2d6 poison damage always available to all of your characters when they're attacking things. Yeah, that's going to require like a laboratory, a large operation that's capable of siphoning that much poison through distilleries and stuff. So, but yeah, so the system's really simple. It can either work on the fly while you're out in the field, and like as long as it's like, generally the rule is if it's 10 gold pieces in value, you can make it in an 8-hour shift. But your downtime, like the 8 hours rest that you take is included in 8 hours. So every 3 rests that you take, that counts as a day of crafting for your character. So if you're out in the field for 3 weeks, 21 days, that's going to count as 7 days worth of so the 10 gold pieces per day is an 8-hour shift. So if you have 21 days out in the field, that's effectively 210 gold worth of something that you could be crafting in your spare time that you could pack up and put in your backpack while you're still working on it. And if it's like a common magic item, it's only going to take you like 4 days to make it. So unless you have like a facility in a bastion that's designed to make these things, then they work a lot faster. They can go through more material more quickly anyway. So hopefully that answers your question. It's basically the same system as this, but it's just an ability check instead of the bastion check. But all the components, the materials that you need, the right tools that you need, a plan to do it if it's a magic item. If you have to harvest the material, then it's going to be a harvesting check based on the rarity of the item that the material is used for, and the crafting check also based on the rarity of the item that you're attempting to create. So two ability checks, have the right tools, have the plans, and have the materials. Those are your 5 components for being able to create something, whether it's through a bastion with crafting and empowering, or if you're actually just doing it out in the field on your own. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so let's see. These are the words I wanted to say about clarifying how you can use these orders. We've already gotten through crafting, we've gotten through empowering, we've gotten through harvesting. Last night we took care of maintain, order, and recruiting. We are now down into research. Research, library, observatory, pub, spy network. These are facilities that are able to utilize the research action. When issuing the research order, make a Bastion check. The result of the roll determines the number of questions you can ask about the topic. The DM answers truthfully. Let's see. When you to issue a research order, a Bastion must have a facility installed capable of carrying out the order. Each facility describes what they can specifically research. When issuing the research order, make a Bastion check. The result of the roll determines the number of questions you can ask about the topic. The DM answers truthfully. So if you roll less than 10, you get a complication. DC of 10, you can have 1 question answered. DC of 15, 2 questions answered. DC 23 questions answered. DC 25, 4 questions answered. DC 35 questions answered. Research, so specifics, gather information. Your research facility spends 1 week making a Bastion check. Let's see, to issue a research order, a Bastion when issuing the research order. This should be under gathering information. So let's yeah, let's do it. Let's do it that way. We're going to grab this, and instead, yeah, we can just cut that out. That's just duplicate text. Research, and now we're looking at. Delete. Each make a Bastion check. The result of the roll determines. Okay, we can delete that. There are 2 forms of research. There are 2 types of research. Gathering information and what is it? Devising plans to create magic items and expensive stuff. Equipment, non-magic items. So research, gathering information. So we can drop this out of the way, and we can bold that and make it a bit bigger. So your research facility spends a Bastion turn. It's not necessarily a week, but spends a Bastion turn. Your research facility spends a Bastion turn gathering relevant information. To issue a research order, a Bastion must have a facility installed capable of carrying out the order. Each facility describes what they can specifically research. There's 2 types of research: gathering information and devising plans. We're going to switch that. Devising plans to create magic items and expensive things. So let's go to devising plans. Yeah. There. And then we're going to here we go. Cut und paste. I said und in a sentence. Und. Devising plans. Your Bastion discovers. Let's see. You can. Let's see. How to do. Any facility that can create non and magical items. I still don't know how to eloquently say that. But any facility that can create non-magical and magical, that can create, I guess it would be magical and non-magical. God, how clunky. Magical and mundane. Any facility that can create magical and or mundane items, can also research the plans required to create specific items. Let's see, devising plans. How do I remember this? Well, hey, Shazam. Mundane and magical. Magical and mundane. Although I do agree that mundane and magical rolls off the ton easier. Generally, we go in alphabetical order. I don't necessarily like it, but yeah, mundane's a great word, my guy. I think we both got there at the same time. Welcome to the team, Shazam. So devising plans. How do I want to word this? Any facility that can create. Okay, great. So yeah. Let's see. Any facility that can create magical and mundane items can also research the plans required to create them. Mundane. As stated in the craft order above, any facility that can create mundane items already, that's not the right wording, has the plans for any items of common rarity, of common value, up to 100 GP in value. Common, uncommon, rare, very rare, legendary, 100, 400, 4,000, 40,000, 200,000 plus. So, as noted, as stated in the craft order above, which we've already done, any facility that can create mundane items has the plans for any items of common value up to 100 gold pieces, up to 100 gold pieces, without requiring research. Any item of uncommon or greater value require a separate research order to have correct plans before crafting these items. As stated, we're going to go with crafting plans for mundane items. Plans for mundane items. This is how you make a ttrpg supplement. You take the idea and you break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller bite-sized pieces of information. And when warranted, you make a subtitle out of it and separate it into a separate section. And when you have all the different mechanics of what you're doing and all the narrative bits and all the blah-de-blah broken down into their individual components, you can then take and rearrange them in the document that is most efficient to flow the information to understand what you're trying to achieve with the product. So in this instance, we are creating a skill check system for issuing orders to your Bastion that as your Bastion grows in power or ranks, it can hit higher and higher DCs. It has higher modifiers to be able to achieve more difficult, more miraculous tasks. So breaking down all the components of how it works, how you get resources, timing that it takes, the different orders that are involved, how your characters are involved, how this affects your adventures. All these things are different topics that are in the nebulous cloud of what is a Bastion campaign. So we have to break down all of these components logically, and then further break down each major subject into all of its sub-subjects and then derivative subjects, and then structure all of it inside of that subject, and then position that subject relative to the other subjects, so that the first thing you read is naturally leading you to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, until you get to the end of the book. And you're like, this is cool. And then you move forward in your own campaign, you start implementing those rules. So this is us breaking down. Again, we already built this document. The ideas were clunky, not necessarily well organized. This pass-through that we're doing right now is simplifying and standardizing the mechanics and rules that go into operating Bastion campaigns. And once we have all that language solidified and simplified, then we'll end up doing another pass-through, potentially recruiting a co-writer or an editor at that point to help shuffle the information into the proper order, so that it's just logical, so that you just acquire the next piece of information is logical and helps accrue information, and you understand why you're gathering, like why you're accruing that information to utilize the Bastion campaign system. So that's the thought process that goes on inside the head as we build these things. Hey, what's up, Shazam? I'm terrible at writing my plans down in a way that makes sense. I do it all in my head, then craft the world map to explain it for me. Right on. Fair enough. Yeah, this is what I've got a lot of books that are listed down below. After punching through a bunch of books, this is generally what I see manifesting in the work over and over again. So as I share this creation process on stream with you guys, obviously we start off with ideation, and then we go to my Discord server link down below and we start play testing it, and when it works we come back and we lock down the language to clarify it. Then we get an editor and potentially a co-writer to make Word good, and once Word is good, they give it back to me. I then do the page layouts and break that down, and then all the gaps that are left open on the pages with the text, I paint the images that go. I do all the illustrations, and I do illustrations in the morning, Monday through Friday. We're currently doing an Eberron adventure, and then in Monday and Thursday nights like last night, and Tuesday, Friday lunches like today, we do game design for the next book that we plan on working on. Once Eberron finishes, probably in November, this should be getting lined up with an editor to complete, and we can start doing like the book cover, and then start organizing the frame of the book, start building in the texture, and then when the document comes back to us, we can start dropping the text into the pages and start organizing it. And once it's done with all the illustrations, we publish it, and then we work on the next book. Just keep moving forward with the next ideas, and every book that I make inspires 4 more books. So I never run out of material to work on, but you might not care about an Eberron adventure. So, but maybe you like the artwork. So my audience is like really me having 600 subscribers. That's amazing to me, because like I picked up like maybe 200 of them when I was doing Spelljammer, and I honestly don't know if they give a fuck about Eberron or not. So like right now I'm doing Spelljammer. I'll be doing Magic the Gathering soon. The Bastion system, once that resolves, then we're going to be moving into like War Golems and Mega Kaiju for Spelljammer. And once we get done with that stuff, we'll be going into the Martial Powers system. And once that's resolved, we'll be folding that into the Color Mana system that we built. And I have no idea where we're going to go from there. That's like 6 books down the road. So like by the end of 2026, we'll probably have a decent idea of where we're going to go for 27 to 28. But we got to get there. So, and I only have an hour lunch, so I'm going to keep moving forward. Plans for magical items. As stated in the Empower order above, any facility that can create magical items must first have plans for the intended item before it can be empowered. Let's see, researching plans. Whether magical or mundane, the item to be created. Let's see, whether magical or mundane. The facility creating the item must first research the plans to do so. Make a bastion check. To determine success, the rarity of the item. Make a bastion check. Let's see. There you go. When you issue the research order to the creating facility. This isn't the right language, but this is what we're going with for now. So when you issue the research order to the proper facility, to the appropriate facility, the rarity of the item determines the DC to discover the plans to create it. And we don't need a duration. I'm fine with having a long duration for discovering, but I don't want to have discovering the plans. It should be relatively easy. And then we're going to put an asterisk here. And this is just the common curve that we use for everything legendary. Very rare. Rare, uncommon, common. There we go. So this is our standard array, rarity. Let's go with magic, rarity, or mundane value, and research DC. 100 GP, 400 GP, and again, this is just pulling from the DMG, the cost of stuff. 40,000 GP. Like, for example, a damselfly ship in Spelljammer, I think it's like 35,000 gold. Well, I just triggered a reference token, so I'm going to drop down here into my Spelljammer combat and exploration document, and since I asked what's the cost of a damselfly, I'm going to demonstrate my Spelljammer book. I do all my own artwork. Super fun. Check it out. It's 100% free preview. Here's some tokens and maps that are included if you buy it. We converted the entire adventure of Lyazaraxis for all the combat and exploration challenges for ships and your crew aboard their ships. We converted all that into this combat and exploration system. So playing Lyazaraxis teaches your DM how to use the system so that you can run a campaign from level 1 to 20 if you want to continue playing using this stuff, which is super fucking fun. So let's go down to our list of pre-generated ships. Here we go. What's our cost? Let's look at Damselfly. Yeah, Damselfly costs 30,000 gold. Boop, right there. So there you go. So a Damselfly is basically very rare value, which means that if I want to build a Damselfly, I'm going to have to make a DC 25 check to basically build one from scratch. A spelljamming helm is, I believe, only an uncommon item. Hold on, let's go check that out real quick. So let's go down to our list of pre-generated ships. Here we go. What's our cost? Yeah, Damselfly. Let's see. Fargav, Link, additional equipment, traveling, dual sea. There we go. No, Astral Spyglass, hooded lantern, dueling pilots. It's up here. Spelljammer costs 5,000 gold, and a minor helm is only 500 gold. What I'm going to end up doing is when I reformat this book, there's a couple changes I need to make, like the burning mechanics, increasing the repair, like the amount of hit points that are repaired on your ship when you cast a spell, because that upgraded in 2024. And I'm going to also update these costs. This is going to switch to 400 gold and 4,000 gold, so that a minor helm that you can put on a fighter ship is a uncommon item, while a major helm suitable for a vessel will be a rare value. So that's a revision that I want to make right there. Pretty simple, but there's some changes that need to be made to this book, and I'm happy to see them, because I knew there was going to be some changes. I'm glad that they're that gentle. But having said that, a damselfly is 30,000 gold, so that'd be very rare. So to make a damselfly from scratch, it's a mundane item. So I just need, it's 40,000 gold piece or less. So it's 30,000 gold, more than 4,000. So I'd have to roll a 25 to get the plans. If I fail and I have the asterisk here. Hold on real quick. 200,000 GP plus GP. It's technically no limit at that point. But then the asterisk says, failing the Bastion check creates a complication that must be resolved before the plans, before the facility can finish researching the plan. There. So that is item creation plans. I think that makes the most sense. So there we go. So that's all the structure there is. If you can make something in a facility, you can research how to make something in that facility. That seems logical. And then from there, it's depending on the rarity or value of the thing that you want to make is going to set the difficulty. It takes one Bastion turn, because an order takes one turn to be able to create it. Once you succeed, you'll have the plans, and then you're cleared to go on to either empower or craft the item. If you fail, it triggers a complication. So going to our complications table later on in the document, further down below, here we go. So here's our complications table. So like if we're attempting to research, let's say we're trying to research how to make a damselfly, right? That makes sense. That's what we were just talking about. So you can see here, there's 7 types of orders. There's crafting, empowering, harvesting, maintaining, recruiting, research, and trade. If you have a complication in researching something, you can't research your way out of it. You already failed. You can't free yourself from a force cube within the force cube if you fail the save. You're stuck in there. You got to find a way out from someone outside of you. So so if it's a complication that arose, we roll a d6 to determine how we are going to resolve it. In this instance, I rolled a 3. So the problem was with harvesting. So I'm trying to research the plans for a damselfly ship, and I run into a problem of the Bastion is infested with memory loss fungus. Hirelings keep forgetting what they discover. So I could, if I wanted to make this, if I didn't want to make this an adventure, because this is a Bastion campaign system, every time you have a complication, it becomes an adventure seed. If your characters don't care about that adventure, but they want the plans, they could then issue the harvest order to gather the fungus from the facilities and clear the Bastion of the infestation. So you have to issue a harvesting order to try to get to collect it all and clear it from your facility. That kind of makes sense. It's you're gathering materials that are making your team forget stuff, or you could create an adventure to discover the origins of the fungus in the Bastion. There could be this could be a sabotage effort from nefarious forces. It could be something involving a coven of green and night hags. You may have pissed off a Myconid colony at some point, and they're Last of Using into your toilets to then spread these spores in the bathrooms to make people forget when they take a shit. Who knows? It's up to you. But if this is something that your team embraces as this is weird, they might be thinking if we can harvest this material and figure out its origins, we might be able to like make a poison out of it. And now they're utilizing this crafting system on the fly for themselves. Hey, it would be cool to make something like that. And then you can, as a DM, you can just know, well, if they do harvest this, we're going to make it, say, a rare material, which is going to be a DC 20 for them to harvest and figure out how to utilize it. And then another DC 20 to craft it into a memory loss poison that could be incredibly useful during heists. It's like, that's a cool resource. I'd be fine with it. Like, if I hit you, you fail your saving throw. If you pass your saving throw, you forget the previous round of activity. If you fail your saving throw, you forget like D6 times 10 minutes of past activity. So if your team is fast and efficient, they can go in, they can blip somebody, and they won't even remember them going by, even if they fail. But if you get into a longer exchange with them, then you're going to want to make sure they fail the saving throw so they forget this conversation ever happened, sort of stuff. So I think there's a lot of fun possibilities there. But that's an adventure nugget that you can make out of it. Or you could just be like, yeah, we got other things that are going on, but we want those plans. So we're going to issue another order to our Bastion to clear all this crap out. And if they pass the harvest check, and the harvest check is going to be the same as the research check, is a difficulty of 20. It's not going to be easier. Of course it's not going to be easier, but it's basically allowing you to re-roll your ability check, but instead of just take a reaction to re-roll your check, or spend an inspiration point to re-roll your die. Instead, this is building a framework around it. It's like, yeah, you can roll again, but now it's in a framework of harvesting, and if you fail the roll again, you've created an additional complication. So not only are people forgetting, but you just failed your harvest roll. So let's go find out what happens when you fail your harvest roll. Going back to the D6, I rolled a 6. I'm trying to get brain fungus out of my facility so we can remember how to make a goddamn damselfly ship. But I ran into a trade complication. A mysterious natural disaster disrupts harvesting. So we're not able to gather all the fungus from our facilities, our ship dock, because of some mysterious natural disaster that disrupted our ability to gather up all that stuff. If this finally becomes a problem big enough for your characters to deal with, you can create an adventure to investigate the natural disaster. Otherwise, you would issue the trade order to find a new source of materials. So that doesn't 100% jive with what our objective is right now. How would I use my DM improvisation skills to retool that to make sense? Mysterious natural disaster disrupts harvesting. So I could issue the trade order to find new sources of materials. Harvesting is gathering materials. I guess the trade order, we would have to improvise it. So it'd be like you would issue the trade order to I guess repair or get materials that you need outside of your facilities to be able to then help finally clear the fungus out. But what is the natural disaster? I like the Myconid idea. A sinkhole opens up underneath your bastion. So the facility that was supposed to be building the damselfly now has a massive sinkhole leading into the Underdark, where there's a bunch of Myconid colonies that are releasing these memory forget spores. I could actually have you wake up in the middle of this adventure not remembering a goddamn thing about what's going on, and then the adventure is you backtracking, trying to remember, why are we in the Underdark? Where the fuck are we? And then you have to find your way out of the dungeon because you forgot how you got in there, finding your way back to your bastion with a giant hole in it, and all this fungus growing all over the walls. And then it's like, okay, a day goes by. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, you wake up, and it's like, what happened? Well, you don't remember the past D20 times hours, and this is the next scenario that you're in. So you're constantly losing gaps of information in your mind because you have a sinkhole and your facilities are being flooded with memory loss poison, and you still don't have your goddamn damselfly. and your characters are having a hard time countering this because they keep forgetting what's going on. So the trade order is like, we need to bring in outside resources to help us get a clear head on what's going on here. It's like maybe you start like getting like some sort of memory tonic or something. Like, see, now we're building like a little scenario out of this. And that actually sounds pretty fun. So, but this is how the entire campaign goes. Every time you want to do something new, every time you fail a Bastion check to get the thing that you want, it creates a complication that requires an additional die roll of the same level of difficulty that if you failed it the first time, you might fail it again. And now it starts creating this cascade of problems that just kind of pile up on top of each other until your characters are knee-deep in bullshit. It's like, what is going on? So you have to clear all that crap out of the way, and you can do this on an episodic adventure where each week something new crops up that you want to do. If you solve it, if you do it correctly, great. You do all the things that you want to do, and you can go deal with all the other crap that's going on in your campaign. But if something goes wrong, now it becomes, is this something you're going to spend time on this week as your adventure? Or are you going to relegate it to your NPCs to try to fix it themselves? And if they fail, are you going to finally step in and take care of it? Or are you going to just let them keep just flailing around, causing more and more trouble until your characters finally decide, okay, we got to get involved. And then they do, and then they resolve it, and that was the adventure, and now they own that as part of their piece of building the world with you, because they are the ones that decided how to solve the problems that are being presented by the things that they wanted to do. It's all it's like all procedurally generated to create a hex crawl sort of campaign where you're discovering new pieces of the world every time you're issuing orders to advance the cause of your characters or the bastion that your characters belong to. That's the idea. So, hey, what's going on? If they fail, the situation can get worse. I think we're going to address that. I think I was playing with the idea of a complication cannot raise above the rank of the bastion itself. So, if you have a third rank bastion, the problem can't ever exceed a DC 20 difficulty. I'm kind of playing with that idea. I haven't completely locked it down yet. I've never actually ran the game where the difficulty increases, like the DC increases because you failed. But you keep piling on more problems that all require, like in this instance, they all require a DC 20. And if you failed DC 20 once, you might fail it again, which could then create another cascade of problems that you have to deal with. So I don't think I want to increase the difficulty, but depending on what kind of facilities you have, it might not be very easy for you to resolve the problem. Like, a complication is resolved using the bastion die of the bastion itself. So if I have a third rank bastion, I'm going to roll a d20 plus 3 plus d8, and my target number in this instance is a 20, which is a third rank difficulty, the maximum difficulty that a third rank bastion can deal with. And but I could have facilities in the bastion that are only second or first rank. So it'd be like a first rank facility would roll a d20 plus 3 because of my bastion, and then a d4 and add that up and try to hit a DC 20. Or if it's a second rank facility that's trying to resolve the thing, it'd be a d20 plus 3 because of my bastion rank, plus d6 because of the rank of the facility. And that's trying to hit a DC 20. So if I have a complication, I'm going to use my best die, because it's not just that facility that's trying to solve the problem. That facility can't solve the problem. It created it. Now the rest of the bastion gets involved to try to fix that facility's problem. So you get to roll your best die. So it's likely that if you relegate the task to NPCs, that you'll be able to roll and have be more likely to succeed at the complication. But at 8-2 orders, the original order and the order to resolve the complication, it's eating up more of your resources. So even if you do end up succeeding because you passed the bastion, the complication check, your bastion is now doing less this turn than it otherwise would have been able to do, because you're trying to fix problems. And if the bastion can't fix the problem of the facility, it's just creating more problems. They're not more difficult, but your facility failed, and now your bastion failed, and now you've got more problems facing your bastion. So it's more d20s that need to be passed to try to clear up all this mess. Does that make sense? Memory fungus is a cool idea. I made heaps of mushrooms for caves. Right on. For cave maps, but what they do is undermine and is undetermined until someone tries using one. That's great. That encourages them to explore and experiment. Like experimenting like that in dungeons, like mixing potions and shit, or like pressing the red button versus the blue button. Players love that stuff. That's bread and butter for just exploration, man. It sounds like you're running your games right to me. Hey, what's going on, Matt? It's good to see you, my guy. So research plans. We just figured out how researching plans works, and now we're going into actually gathering information. So what is the font size I used here? And that's font 15. So we're going to go gather information here. Font 15. Collapse this. All right, so any facility that can create blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Facilities that have the research order listed as one of the properties of this circular language. I'm going to go with it for now. So facilities that have the research order listed as one of their properties can use the research can be issued the research order to gather information. Period. Copy. When you issue the research order to the facility to gather information, facilities that have the research order listed as one of their properties can be issued the research order to gather specific types of information. Specific types of information as detailed in the facility descriptions above. That resolves that. When you issue the research order to gather information, to gather specific types of information, such as period, such as current or historical creatures, events, locations, or objects. Each facility lists what information can be gathered, what types of information can be gathered. I know that's a little circular, but that's why we hire an editor. And then, hey, what's going on? This is going to be really useful in my next game. Hey, great. Well, if you want to playtest, join my Discord server, and we'll give you playtest credits. You're most welcome to jump in on this. It's going to be a little while before it's like going to get published on DMsGuild. I mean, you know me. I do a lot of art, and it takes a while. But that doesn't mean that the information is useful. We're also going to have an editor eventually come through and clean all this thing up so that's, ready for the DMsGuild proper. Like, honestly, if they end up dropping into the Creative Commons SRD, and it takes me long enough to make it, I might just end up putting on ttrpg instead of DMsGuild. I'd have to scrape all the IP labels off of like Forgotten Realms and Eberron and Ravnica and stuff. So I might put it on the DMsGuild anyway. But I'm aware that's a possibility. And considering my 6-month lead time that I have on books like this, we may find that this ends up in the Creative Commons before I end up publishing it, which means I could switch gears. But regardless, if you want to join my Discord server down below, you can have access to the document to playtest. And I've been running the system for my Spelljammer Eberron campaign for the past like 9 months, and it's been working great. But having other DMs utilize it would certainly be useful to make sure that we're learning where we need to iron out any snags and where we need to focus more attention and examples to make sure that people can grok it. So you know me, just reach out to my Discord, it's linked down below. Researching plans, what we want to be here, gathering information. Facilities that have the research order listed as one of their properties can be issued the research order to gather specific types of information such as current or historical creatures, events, locations, or objects. Each facility lists what types of information can be gathered. And then we're up here to look at researching, gathering information. Researching item creation plans. And this will be researching information. When you issue the research order to gather information, make a Bastion check to learn. Make a Bastion check. When you issue the research order to gather information, make a Bastion check and make a Bastion check. Period. The result of the check determines the number of questions the players can ask the DM about the topic of research. Period. The DM will answer truthfully. Hold on. You can, when gathering information, you can, let's do it this way. There are two types of, there's two methods of gathering information. General knowledge, specific questions. Researching general information. General information, that's the way to word it. General information and specific information. How about that? Researching general information. When you issue the research order to gather general information about a topic, make a Bastion check. The result of the check determines the number of questions the player can ask the DM about the topic of research. The DM will answer truthfully. DC, questions, 0 plus complication. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to go with researching specific information. When you issue the research order to gather specific information about a topic, make a Bastion check. The result, the DC to discover the desired, the DC to gather the specific information is determined by the rarity or CR of the subject. Rarity, CR, DC. Common, value, rank. When you issue the research order to gather specific information about a topic, make a Bastion check. The DC to gather the information is determined by the rank of the topic, equal to its rarity, value, CR, or rank accordingly. So, for example, rarity would include magic items: common, uncommon, rare, very rare, legendary. Its value would be, and it should be repetitive at this point, and we're doing it over and over again to beat into the DM's head how the patterns work. Up to 1, up to 5, up to 9, up to 13, 14 plus. Rank. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. See? All magic items have a level of rarity. All items in the game have a value. All creatures have a CR. And all bastions, settlements, armies, and facilities have a rank. And depending on what they are, is going to be the DC that you need to hit. Bloop. And then bloop. We go with failing the DC creates a complication. Rarity, value, CR, failing the DC complication. When you succeed, if you succeed, the research check, roll a Bastion die equal to the rank of the facility to determine how many questions you can ask about the topic. So if you're 5th rank and you're asking about a specific topic, you could roll a 12 and have up to 12 questions that the DM is going to answer truthfully. The DM answers truthfully. So 5th rank, it's gonna be, well, if you're a 5th rank facility and you're only checking out like an uncommon piece of rarity, it's only going to be a DC 15, but you're going to roll a D20 plus 5 plus a D12. And if you, assuming that you hit the DC 15, that 12-sided die, you'll roll that 12-sided die, and that's how many questions you can ask about that specific topic of conversation. Oh, let's actually, I want to curve that a bit. Let's see. If you succeed the research check, roll a Bastion die equal to the rank of the facility and subtract the rank of rarity of the topic to determine how many questions you can ask. For example, minimum of 1. For example, if a 5th rank facility rolling a 1d12 to determine how many questions can be asked about a 4th rank topic and rolls a 6, you can ask 6 minus 4 equals 2 questions. There. You can the DM decides if another research order will yield additional information or not. Generally, I want to make a comment about that. Like if you have like 7 or 8 facts that you can think of offhand and your team only rolled 3 and they want to roll again, it's like, yeah, you can. Or you can be like, no, this was an exhaustive search. There's no other information that you can find at this time. But you could always shift to a different topic. Why is everything in bold over here? If a topic cannot be researched further, another topic related to the original topic can be researched instead. There, so you can create a cascading research event happening there. Let's see, and let's go with complications. In addition, when a Bastion check fails, in addition to creating a complication as detailed below, the DM can, let's see, the sentence yet. So let's look at what the information is. If the information being gathered is through, as detailed, when a Bastion check fails, in addition to creating a complication as detailed below, I'm already using the word in addition because I want to say additionally, comma. When a Bastion check fails, in addition to creating a complication as detailed below, the topic of research may retaliate against whomever is researching the information. If the information being researched is through directly observing the activities of a creature, such as spying on a local noble, if the result is less than its intelligence or wisdom score, whichever is higher, the subject becomes aware of your research. If the information researched is through directly observing a location or object, creatures that have orders to protect the topic what's the word from that? Creatures in proximity to the topic become aware of your research. The topic, the response, the reaction, the disposition of these creatures the reaction these creatures may have towards your research is based on their attitude towards the researchers. Gathering the information. I'm going to use that term here. Attitude, neutral, hostile, and so we're going to go with friendly. You can ask you can ask one question. Neutral. There. So if they're friendly towards you, even though you failed to research stuff, you at least get something because they're not angry about you and they're willing to answer a question. Neutral, it creates a complication. We already have a complication. You create an additional complication. You create an additional complication. So you get two complications out of it. And if they're hostile, the creature attempts to sabotage your researching facilities. Your research to sabotage the facility issued the research order. There you go. We could go deeper into this, like for example, an Alep is created. An undead creature called an Alep is created when a dark evil secret is discovered through research, and it drives the researcher mad, converting them into an Alep, and now they're cursed to try to whisper and share that secret with anyone else that is discovered to be trying to research the same information. They're just attracted to the question. So in this instance, for example, if your specific topic of conversation you were attempting was like the true name of Beelzebub, it's going to be a DC 30 because he's above CR 14 for sure. So that's going to create a complication, and he's going to try to sabotage you. So you might now have a cascade of Alps attacking your facilities, just basically sabotaging your Bastion points and destroying your hirelings, turning them into Alps, disabling the facility's ability to operate because there are no more hirelings available to research, and now your Bastion map has a bunch of Alps running around trying to slaughter people, for instance. So we could add to that. That's an interesting example that could be used, but again, that's just an example. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but being aware like that an Alp exists is really relevant to this sort of thing. So let's make an example using Alps. Yeah, let's do that, shan't we? And that's my lunch. So I wasn't able to get to trade today, but we did resolve research. So we understand how gathering information works now. We understand how creating item plans works, researching item creation plans, researching item creation plans, gathering information, researching general information, researching specific information. There you go. Yeah, that completely works, and it's a really easy contained system. Hey, what's up? Yeah, the Arctic commission for my next project is what I'm waiting on at the moment. Hey, awesome. Nice. So let's see. So when we come back on Thursday night, we'll work on trade. We'll definitely finish trade Thursday night. We typically have a 2 or 3 hour block of time. So we'll in that time, we'll be able to finish trade, no problem. And then we'll get into settlements. Governing bastions and settlements. And that'll probably take up Thursday night. So Friday, we do lunch, and we'll come back and we'll start working on framing armies as mobile bastions, like a pirate fleet or like a marching army or modrons or whatever, the Blood War. These are all armies, but they can be framed and issued orders the same way as you can do with bastions. It's just like a recon team would gather information, right? You have a recon team in your army. You're effectively supporting a spy network facility within that army, expending bastion points in your army to have these facilities or resources available to your army. So we'll go into the depths of that probably Thursday. And but that's it for now. So I'll be back tomorrow morning to do more Eberron art, and then we'll be back Thursday morning to do more Eberron art. Thursday night to work on the trade order, and then settlements, and then I anticipate on Friday beginning work on commanding armies. I suspect that's going to roll through into Monday, but if we're successful Monday night, we'll then be getting into Bastion events and complications. And then once we get through the Bastion events and complications, we've hit the end of the book. So then all we're doing is building examples. Because the appendix, all the equipment stuff, this is all good already for crafting and empowering items. This is all the materials that you need, all the facilities that can build. This is literally everything that's in the 2024 basic rule set. Including the magic items, but not individually, but by category. So like you have way down here, you've got like armaments, arcana, implements, relics, and trinkets that can be made with specific facilities. And then you've got each type of magic item, which can be created by, which can be created by various facilities. So, yeah, there you go. This is going to be good. I'm really proud of this one. I think I'm more proud of this one than I am of Spelljammer, honestly. Probably because it has more universal appeal, and it really dives into that Dominion style of play. Plus, you can immediately convert your Spelljammer into this Bastion system to establish trade lines, run a fleet, reframe Rock of Brawl, the Illithid Empire, Neogi Pirates. All that shit can all be we could use Light of Zaraxis as an example for converting things into bastions with resources, like the Eberron adventure that we're writing. The different rooms in the final dungeon where the experiments are being, those are like a storeroom, teleportation circle, barracks, laboratory, Like all the different types of facilities that you can find in the Bastion are present and listed as actual rooms in the dungeon. So you can build dungeons around the theme of a Bastion and then assign all the rooms in the dungeon specific facilities, so that if you're thinking about taking over that dungeon, you automatically know what sort of facilities can automatically be set up in this place. And then like the blank empty rooms that you run across occasionally is just like general housing or whatever. So anyway, I gotta go. That's my lunch for now. I'm gonna be back tomorrow morning. Bless all y'all for being here. I really appreciate it. We just hit 600 subscribers. We're still climbing to 1,000. So anyone that thinks this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, bell icon, join my Discord, hang out with us there. It's free to use. All my books I publish on DMsGuild are all 100% free preview. Check them out. If they add value to your game, consider making a purchase, because most of these things have tokens, maps, etc., that goes with them to make them easier to use. So it's typically worth your time to do so. If you don't want to just, support me, you can support yourself. So thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you. See you guys soon. Bye.